Hey there, welcome back to the Story of Scale podcast. If you have missed previous episodes of this 4-part series on AI architecture, stick with us for this one, and then you might want to go back and listen to some of those earlier episodes. But we're going to try to bring this to a close, not because it will feel like this conversation is complete by any means. We're in kind of a Wild West era, I think, in this chapter of human history, the switch from the information age where knowledge was the currency to the imagination age where wisdom is the currency. It's less about knowing the answers and more about our ability to ask the right questions and leverage more human skills like leadership and creativity and storytelling. And guys, AI is going to be able to do the majority of everything else. And so we've been talking about how we have been architecting AI systems and AI agents in the Agentic AI revolution. So, Chad, where do you want to begin this episode? This has been a really fun series, and I want to get people a lot of really tactical help in this 4th episode.
Yeah, no, we've talked. It feels weird to end in 4 episodes talking about AI because it feels like we could continue, but we don't want this podcast to just solely become AI. But we felt like kind of giving you a peek behind the curtain a little bit. And so today is really just like, hey, here's some practical use cases that we have 27 agents. I'm obviously not interfacing. I'm kind of on the sales and the marketing side. And hey, how do we really grow this thing? How do we take Harris's IP and really build this? And so there's 3 or 4 agents that I work with primarily on a daily basis. Harris maybe works with a handful more. I have an assistant that does a lot for me that, a human assistant I could just never did, just honestly. And I would try to get a human to do it, and then they just wouldn't do it. I think for me, one of the most valuable things in the type of work I get paid typically for my brain, and sitting on a call and being present, and with all the meeting, transcripts and stuff like that. Now, like within 5 minutes, my assistant is sending an email. It's drafting an email, summarizing the meeting with action items for me and whoever we met with in my voice, and it's been trained. And that used to take me an hour and a half. And I can tell you right now, it was the most dreadful thing that I would do at the end of the day, to be like, oh my gosh, I got to remember what we talked about in that meeting. I have to send this email. And again, it's not sending it on my behalf. I'm not there yet where it's just like, hey, I'm trusting AI. But I would say I changed 30% of that email. 70% is completely great. And I'm anal about formatting. So I've trained it about formatting that honestly, a human, like I could never train a human to do. So for me, that's one that I just absolutely love. I even saw you today going back and forth, hey, if I send you a login to a course that I just bought or a course that you have, can you go through and do that? So share a little bit about that. I'm intrigued. I don't even know the why behind that, but I saw it was pretty cool.
Yeah, we hadn't talked about it yet. Last night, I logged into, I purchased a course that was a lot about voice interaction with AI agents. So very niche, very specialized. But I'm like, I don't have time to sit through 4 hours of how to build this. And the only reason I want to learn it is so that I can turn around and have an agent go do it. And so I'm like, why not just give the agent that's going to build it access to the course so they can be trained to learn how to go build the new updated version of the app so that I can interact with some of my agents via voice. So yeah, I think you're just learning how to think differently as an entrepreneur in this new era is something that not a lot of people are thinking about or talking about. And that's why we call it AI architecture. You've got to have the mindset of an architect who's sitting down to design completely different systems, completely different ways of creating company culture than you did in the past. So it's been really fun. In the last episode, we talked about the first agent you should build through the lens of an org chart, thinking bottom up. Where's the most pain in your business? You had some great examples with like commercial real estate, missing lead flow, being able to respond in time to certain things. We talked about travel research, like travel, almost like you had a full-time travel agent on the team. We talked a lot about assistance like you just did. So go back and listen if you guys missed that one. But today, let's dig a little bit deeper and give you some updated examples of how we're using agents. You just mentioned one about me sending an agent to go learn. That's our developer agent, Leo, named after Leonardo da Vinci. A lot of people think of Leonardo as like a painter because of famous works of art, but he also had journals filled with inventions like flying machines. He also tried to study the human body to understand like what's going on the inside so he could better portray it. and paintings and sculptures on the outside. So pretty cool stuff. One of my favorite recent examples was I just spoke at an event in Cape Town, South Africa, and it was like 9 o'clock at night, South African time. And I was preparing for my keynote the following morning, and I could not remember how long my keynote time was. I'm like, is this like standard 30 minutes, standard an hour? Do I have more time, less time, somewhere in the middle? So I jumped on Slack and I posted two questions. And it was actually the same question in two different channels. One was to an agent and one was to a human. And they both gave me different answers. Now, interesting spot to be in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, like which one do I listen to and which one's right? And so, long story short, I asked a human. That person went by their memory of the contract, which is very impressive that a human could remember the speaking time that was in the contract. The agent caught a detail from an email thread where, way like, I don't know, like months ago when the contract was done, versus a week ago when the person who was responsible for producing this event that I was speaking at, they finished their programming schedule and they're like, oh, Harris actually has this much time. And so it was the difference between like 75 minutes and 50 minutes. So think about that. That's 25 minutes. And the time I had was 75, not 50. So I would have under delivered to the client by 25 minutes on stage as a presenter had our AI team not captured that detail or caught it in an email thread. I was able to follow up and just privately as a leader say, hey, was this particular human on that email thread? Come to find out they were. It just got missed. Now, was I upset? Did I go on a firing spree? No, because we're
Mhm,
humans. Perfect. I miss details all the time. This particular person missed that detail. It's abnormal for it to change. That's why we get it in writing in the contract.
mhm,
But dude, it was one of those great examples of like, whoa, very high value and something that is quite easy for AI agents to do, which is just
mhm.
all the data, go search the inbox, look at the email threads, and give me the
Yeah,
accurate answer that I need the night before I'm supposed to speak. It was a
yeah.
great example.
Yeah, and I love, I'm a numbers guy. I love data. When I work with clients, we both work with clients. One of the things they always want is a dashboard. Hey, how are we doing? Are we winning? Are we losing? Every day we get a momentum report. Literally, an agent is pulling from all of our data back end of, hey, how many story tickets have been purchased? How many people have opted in to the wisdom of wow, the different funnels that we have. And then, if something is abnormal, you just been to South Africa. So we've got a bunch of leads that are coming in from there. And we're getting some of the data. And so yesterday I literally had some questions around, hey, what's the percentage of people that meet this business requirement? Because my head is going around some new product offers. And so within seconds, I had this information. I didn't have to log in to three different places to get it, and was just amazing. And I think that's the big thing when we launch this is to say, hey, we want you to leverage this. We don't want this to be something that we've built and that Harris just uses, but you built it again with the team in mind for what we're ultimately trying to accomplish. And, I'll even say like, we have someone on our team, and I think it's probably okay to say her name, Holly. I mean, she was pretty resistant at first to AI, and she'd never really like we'd asked her like she had no interaction with AI to the point now where you're like, you now have access to Agentic AI, which is like just a totally different. It's like you're learning to drive now. We're giving you a Ferrari, and we expect you to drive 100 miles an hour wherever you go. And so you could say that was unfair, but at the end of the day, too, like I would say, I'm proud of. I'm seeing her. Yesterday we had a meeting where you just kind of casted, "Hey, this is the next year. Here's the opportunities that are ahead of us." And she would have previously probably taken 2 hours to try to like make this so perfect, and went in and used AI, and within minutes we had, probably 90% of what maybe would have taken her 2 hours to do. But we didn't. The reality is, we didn't need the detail that she probably would have done in 2 hours, but that we got in minutes and got 90% of what we needed, right? And now
Yep.
that is a historical document that now we can all talk, and think through, because that's going to drive all of our strategies around. Like you've done a lot of stuff with entrepreneurs organization, and you're traveling, doing all these tours, and getting from all these business owners that is a new chapter in our business, and it's going to shape some things now that we've been wanting to do for a couple years, and because now we have the agents, we can now take advantage of it. So it's just things like that that I'm seeing our team be able to do. Even I asked, and one of the agents didn't give me the full picture. Ben, who was even away, Ben was like, "Hey, go check this," because he knew he had set it up in a certain way. Maybe the agent didn't know yet, and so it was just like that level of detail. And it was like, "Oh yeah, we got it. We got it." It's the same thing if you were talking with a human. If the human didn't know in that moment it needs something, and then now it's just like, "Hey, remember that moving forward." And then the agent was like, "Hey, do you want me to remember that for tomorrow and update it automatically?" And the answer is obviously yes. And so for me, I love like data. And I can remember when I worked with Michael Hyatt, we hired very expensive consultants to get us data in a visual KPI report. And I can tell you right now, six to 9 months, we spent tens of thousands of dollars to hook up big data using Microsoft BI, all this stuff. And I can tell you right now, we're getting more data in Slack from our agents than we got after 9 months of working with a data consultant that was an expert on Microsoft BI. I mean, we fired the person because we couldn't get what we wanted. And it was like 9 pieces of data. And if we saw a momentum report, I mean, we're getting 12 to 15 pieces of data, and helping us make business decisions on a daily basis.
Yeah. A great example of what you're talking about to piggyback on that is we had a YouTube video a couple weeks ago. Um, it just like went bonkers all of a sudden. It was like what felt like overnight it had 30,000 views. And I'm like,
Hmm.
we, one, we would have missed it. We wouldn't have known. Second, we wouldn't have understood like why without taking the time to go in and be like, okay, we got to go reverse engineer what made this work. How did this get discovered by YouTube's algorithm and how is it being displayed to the right people? But
Hold on.
because
I think the agent said it was because you looked really good that day. You added some type of facial moisturizer that, YouTube liked. Isn't that what happened?
yeah, that was exactly what happened. My robot every morning when I wake up, it comes over and puts its soft hands on my face.
Uh,
Uh, it's a cool example of like again, we currently are not operating at a budget that would allow us to hire a full time data and analytics person. We would have to go in and bring a consultant or build some like old school software automation to do that. But we have AI that is kind of quote unquote alive, actively monitoring things, looking for opportunities to bring us more value and insight, which is pretty cool. On the data front, I'll give you another example of this. We have a very part time bookkeeper. Like over the years, as our revenue has gone up and there is more financial activity, we have actually spent less money on human bookkeeping because it's just one of those things that it's like a scribe when Gutenberg invented the printing press. It's one of those things. It's like, man, this is easily going to be replaced over time. And there was a particular instance where I was speaking at an event and they had used their contract instead of ours. As a
mm,
business owner, you're not in the speaking business. What you might appreciate is that it's not just about the contract for a speaking engagement. It's the fact there's a workflow built that triggers different things within a pipeline or an automation, a series of automations. And the moment we used their contract instead of ours, some stuff was was instantly easier to miss if we weren't paying attention.
mhm.
A couple weeks out from this event, and I realized, did they pay a deposit? Or were we supposed to send an invoice by now? Like, what are the payment terms? Because I think we used their contract instead of ours, so I don't know. Come to find out, we had missed the invoice. It was like $35,000 of revenue, and I asked in our bookkeeping channel, "Hey, can I get the status on this?" And then I was told by a human, "Hey, we're checking on it." Maybe even a couple people from the team were like, "Oh, yeah, we'll look at it." The next morning at like 5 a.m., I happened to be awake. And so I was just like, I'd love to just go ahead and get this wrapped up. I think we were going into a holiday weekend. And so rather than be frustrated with humans that I had already put so much on their plate, they couldn't keep up with the ideal
Mhm.
capacity, my standard, I just released them from them. I'm like, why don't we just have Vance do this? And so Vance went and did the research, found the notes, opened the contract from the DocuSign link that was sitting in our inboxes or our archived folder, found the thing. And then it came back as like, hey, here are the details of the contract. This is what's due and when. So you're actually not behind. The invoice wasn't supposed to go out yet. It's supposed to go out on this date. I was like, great. we'll invoice on that date. And then like those 2 weeks went by. Vance chimed back in, tagged our human bookkeeper, time to send the invoice. And then she just responded to him. It was done.
Yeah.
Again, great example
Yeah.
of data.
And it was like within minutes. I mean,
Yes.
like the way that it can search through and a human just, I mean, I just had this where I knew, someone had shared something with me that was totally not true. And it was like last October, there was some events that had happened. And I was like, hey, can you go in my inbox and find an email in this date? There's probably, we talked about this, this, and this. I mean, within 30 seconds it would have taken me 15 minutes to find that email, at least. Just how quickly, and again, it's just the way that it processes data. So it's things like that that an agent is just so much better at than a human. And what that's a waste of my time. It's a waste of your time to go do those things when what we can be doing and our brains can be doing to do something greater for the business. And that's the thing that we want really you as a business owner, as you're listening, to be thinking through is maybe before you even build an agent, is take 2 weeks. And these things that you're frustrated by, that you're just like, why am I doing this? Just make that list. And you'll start to see a cluster of those things that you're frustrated by. And then listen to all these episodes and then think through, okay, what could I create? If I were to create one agent and, maybe out of those, you have 30 things, there's 5 clusters. And out of you say, hey, this one cluster is going to move the needle the most in my business. Build something to solve that problem. That's what I'd recommend. I know we're short on time, and so we built a tool for you. If you're listening, you probably heard about it from the last episodes, but don't want you to miss it because the feedback we're getting from it has been incredible. Just to be thinking through, because it's like 27 agents. What? You guys were 6 people. How? Why the heck do you need 27 agents? Who knows? Three months from now, the number could be 54. It could, who knows? But this tool will help you understand why. And I think it will help you think through as a business owner. Maybe I need 5. Again, we're not telling you to go build 5. I think the most valuable thing you can do right now, and again, Harris and I think have been on the cutting edge. We tried everything before we went to an agent. And we fumbled our way through other things and we built tools to be able to do it, but we knew an agent would be able to do it better and faster. So a lot of that was like, hey, we're just the first 4 or 5, we're almost just replicating what we had already built some other processes to do. So if you're not there, don't feel like you got to jump straight in and become, advanced. Just start with one. Um, but this tool will help you if you just go to astoria.com/AI team. Astoria is Istoria/AI team. Just give name and email, 30 plus page document. It gives you kind of the architecture of each and how they fit into it, but then each one has their own profile page as to what they're connected to, what they can do, what they can't do. Um, and it was really fun to create, working and just kind of also just going back and like memorializing what we've built, and then to say, hey, this could help other people. And I mean, and I'll give Harris the kudos. Harris has done 95% of this work, long hours into the middle of the night. And we know this because we all share our Aura Ring results. And Harris's sleep score, I don't think, has been above 65 or 70 in a long time. But yeah, been fun to just even reflect back on what we've done. And why we did this was because one, you've had your head down, so busy that even on social media, I'm like, man, if you could have just shared some of this, even at 2 a.m, what you're doing. The reality is like your head is down. Like you're not thinking about, hey, how can I promote this on social media? Because this is at the end of the day, you're just like, hey, I want to help the business. Where I think some people do this stuff. They're like, oh, I'm going to act like I'm doing this for social media to be able to get people. Um, and we have touched on a little bit, and I'll share this too, that if you're listening to this, watching this, you're like, man, I think you guys could help me think through this in my business. We are doing this kind of on a case by case basis. This is not something that we're like, hey, we're not turning our business into an AI consulting business. But there are the right clients that are in our ecosystem that we're doing this for as part of a bigger consulting package. And so if you're like, hey, I'd love for you guys to help me think through what this could be, we've kind of committed to doing no more than 3 at a time. And so, if you're interested, you can just email me, chad@astoria.com. And then Harris and I would love to have a conversation and work through that. I know, Harris, you weren't we didn't talk about doing this, but I just feel like we've mentioned that enough that people are going to ask. So we'll just get ahead of it and say, hey, reach out to us if that's where you're at. We'd love to just even if we're not the right fit, we could point you in the right direction. But we more than anything want to help you think through AI the right way in your business and do it right from the outset. So, any
Yeah.
final words to kind of close out the series, Harris?
No, I didn't know that you were going to do that. But like full transparency, like business owner to business owner, like we need each other. And if this helps, like let us help you. That at the end of the day, that's the
Hmm.
goal. We're not trying. This is not productized. We're not. I have no interest in turning Astoria into like an AI agency. But I am frankly annoyed by. It's like there's that old saying: "Those who can't do teach." And
Hmm.
so who are selling to business owners, and the product they built might be good, but they don't understand how to architect that product through the lens of entrepreneurship because they've never been in the trenches building a business, and we have. And so I think this is less of one of those like, let's go pitch this to people and build business around this. It's more of like, we're doing some very unique stuff. Go download the agent roster at the link that Chad gave you guys. Again, it's astoria.com/AI team. Get inspired by what we're doing. If you have questions, reach out. And if we can help you, we will. And if that help needs to be more intensive, we're happy to entertain that. Just shoot Chad an email and we'll figure out something. At the end of the day, it's just so we can help other business owners thrive versus getting taken advantage of. We've invested a ton, now tens of thousands of dollars into trying to get ahead, make the mistakes, fail fast, and when pass some of that wisdom and experience along to you so you don't have to do the same. So this is something that everyone should be leveraging. The world is changing and entrepreneurs got a lot to learn to change with it. And you don't want to fly on this solo. And so reach out if we can be of any support. But this has been a fun series, and props to you as we end this one. I wouldn't have done this series, to your point. I would have been head down doing the work. And you were like, dude, we've got to pull back the curtain. You're doing stuff that no one else is doing. And so we got to pull back the curtain. And so if you guys enjoyed this series, give Chad a high five. He's the one that talked me into putting time on the calendar to have these conversations.
Well, it's fun. It's always fun to do this with you, but especially this thing that we've loved, nerded out on and spent evenings and multiple text messages back and forth has been fun to talk about. So excited to continue Story of Scale, kind of back to the normal programming here, kind of weeks down the road, but love serving and helping business owners, and getting to talk with you about it along the way has just been a blast. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, guys, thanks for listening. This is the Story of Scale. We'll talk to you again very soon. See ya.